What is DID? It affects about 1.5% of the population. And to give you an idea of how many people that is, the amount of people that are redheaded runs at a rate about 2% of the population. DID, previously known as multiple personality disorder, which is now an outdated and unused term, is defined by an individual having 2 or more alters, which are different personality states that take executive control over the body and have significant amnesia between them. The 5th version of the DSM has 5 diagnostic criteria for DID. The first one being that the individual has 2 or more identity states that can take executive control of the body. The second one being that there has been shown to be amnesia between these 2 or more distinct parts. The third one is that the alters and the amnesia significantly impact the individual's life. The fourth one is that this cannot be part of any sort of religious experience, and the 5th one is that the individual is not on any sort of drugs while experiencing this. This is just throughout their day-to-day life without any alterations on their consciousness. There is another category of disorders called OSDD that has one of its criteria, OSDD-1, present very similar to DID, and it's actually a catch-all for this. The 2 subtypes of OSDD-1 are OSDD-1A, where the individual presents as alters that are less differentiated from each other, such as alters that are one individual but at different ages, or one individual that react differently to trauma, and OSDD-1B, where multiple distinctive parts don't have full, complete amnesia between them. More on this is explained in another video, which I will link in the description, which is on the differences between OSDD and DID. DID is caused from severe trauma in early life. Our best theories on why this is called the theory of structural dissociation. This theory proposes that as a child, we don't come out of the mother's womb instantly with a fully formed personality. In reality, it's much more like a whole bunch of ego states, which are designated to processing certain aspects of the environment, like socially interacting with their parents, receiving food, and processing emotions. As normal development progresses, this child then integrates these aspects into a full, complete personality and continues on with their life as a normal person right around ages 6 to 9. It depends on the person and it depends on a couple other factors. But when severe childhood trauma happens before this threshold, then you can end up with the development of DID. This severe trauma interrupts the process of naturally integrating into one person, and these ego states become further separated from each other, and the brain starts putting up dissociative barriers between them. This is what leads to alters. These alters are categorized in 2 broad categories, ANP and EP. ANPs, or apparently normal parts, are alters designed to deal with daily life. These parts handle things like work, school, academics, and sometimes even social life. EPs, or emotional parts, are parts that are formed to deal with trauma. This can manifest in many ways. EPs can be protectors, which protect the system from trauma and front during times when they can handle it or they can ward off the abuser. There's parts that hold trauma and shield the rest of the mind from it. There's parts that are formed to mimic the abuser to try to protect the individual by hardening against the abuse. And there's many more different instances of this. Each alter and each individual is unique in its own way. The average amount of alters per individual who experiences DID or OSDD is right around 20. But this number can range as low as 2 and as high as into the hundreds. Alters are often highly differentiated and very distinct from each other, having different ages, names, sexualities, genders, memories, abilities, skills, viewpoints on the world, and ways of interacting with others. Alters are not chosen by the individual, and it's the brain's way of coping with trauma at such a young age. What this ends up looking like is an adult with many different differentiated parts that end up taking executive control and managing different aspects of their life. This results in individuals who have to go out into the world and learn how to function not as a whole. This means learning how to communicate with your alters, how to break down those dissociative barriers and have less amnesia in your life. This means having to deal with alters who have trauma. This means having to deal with alters who might be persecutors and might actively harm the system, and having to heal them and bring them back to your side to contribute positively to your experience in life. I'm hopefully going to be doing a myths and misconceptions video, but I'm going to state one right now. These individuals with DID and OSDD are not dangerous at all. In fact, research shows that they're more likely to be targeted by people who are looking to commit a crime than your average citizen. So if anything, these people aren't more likely to do crime. They're more likely to be victims of crimes. Many people I've met, including myself, are kind, warm-hearted, empathetic individuals. And one of the first steps you should take if you happen to meet one is to listen, to be supportive, to be friendly. Sometimes all we need in this world is to be heard. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day, wherever you are.